Let's talk first order profitability within the e-commerce space, right? This is a big subject out there. Should you be first order profitable? Should you aim for profitability with LTV, right? So a CAC to LTV ratio versus CAC to AOV. Which one is more important? Which one should you focus on? This is what I want to talk about in today's video. So with that being said, if you don't know who I am, my name is Justin and I'm the founder at paidadvertising.com, an e-commerce marketing agency specializing in elevating thriving brands by simplifying e-commerce growth. So let's get straight into it. You might have already seen that sheet if you are a subscriber of the channel. If not, no worries. We'll introduce you very quickly to that sheet. This is a unit economics calculator and KPIs sheet that we have internally at the agency. This was actually sent to us by one of our clients in the past, and we've adapted it to things that make more sense on our end, okay? So basically what this sheet does is you put in all of your numbers and it just spits out essentially what is your break-even point on a first order, so on acquisition, right, based on your average order value, or same thing dependent on different LTV thresholds or timelines, okay? So I've pre-filled it right here already with some data, and essentially with the data that I have right here, so my average product price with my cost of goods per unit, my transaction payment fees, pick and pack, which technically for that example, I've assumed that everything was already taken into account within COGS, return rate, which is about 1%, basically my net profit target per unit, which basically gives you these two numbers. Okay, I really went like super quick over that, but I just want to show you essentially the numbers today so that we can get straight into this example. Okay, the nitty gritty is what's important here. So blended break even new customer ROAS for that client would have been 1.24. Now that means based on a product sale or average product price or AOV, however you want to put it. That could be based on a product, could be on a collection, could be on AOV, regardless of how you want to track that. My blended break-even new customer ROAS, if I want to acquire someone today and make some break-even or hope to make some profit today, is 1.24. That I break even. I don't make any profit, okay? So my target customer acquisition cost is 13 bucks. Now, if I aim to make a $5 profit per unit, then I aim essentially to have a 1.69 new customer ROAS right here. Now, this is where it gets interesting. If I factor in AOV and LTV, well, this is where you can see that through time, you actually have a lower target. So what I mean by that is that, let's say I want to run ads for this brand and they really want to make money today, okay? Well, I need to hit about a 1.69 if they want to make their target at least, and if they want to break even today and not lose money, I need to hit 1.24. But if they don't care about making money today because they have a good cash to conversion cycle, right? They have a good credit card, they have a good backend setup and whatnot, and they're okay with losing money today. They might be a subscription model, whatever. Then in that case, you can see that if I'm okay with breaking even only on a 3-month basis, which that is dependent on my LTV at 3 months, right? A customer comes in today, they spend on average $78 for the example I have. In 3 months, that same customer looking at them, they spend about 86 bucks on average. So that's about a 9% increase in customer lifetime value. Therefore, it's a 9% roughly decrease in my target, which now I'm down from 1.24 to 1.14 in my target. Now, if I can wait 6 months until making money back, then my LTV is about 110 bucks, which is an increase in 30% almost from my initial AOV that I have, which gives me a 30% lower target at 0.95. This is where it's very interesting. You're actually unprofitable even on ad spend at this point, but it doesn't matter because of your LTV of that customer. Now, why is this good? Why is this bad? This is good for specific types of brands. One, if you have amazing cash flow, you could be a business, as an example, that is funded, right? You're not bootstrapped. You're completely funded by a VC, by whatever. Then that's okay because you got money to spend right now to acquire customers. And if you've got a good setup on your website, you have strong retention strategies in place, then you shouldn't really have any problem at aiming for LTV basically to help recoup this lost amount in the short term, okay? So here, you want to optimize for CAC to LTV ratio rather than CAC to AOV, which is what I'm doing right here. This is basically a CAC to LTV ratio instead of CAC to AOV. Now, this is also good for a brand that even though you might have been bootstrapped in the start, you now are in a place where you have comfortable enough with your cash reserves. you really want to do a big push in sales and in acquisition, because maybe you want to sell the brand in the future, right? And it looks good if you have more customers, if you have a bigger customer list, you're more secured, right? If you kind of dilute that customer pool. So you might want to do a big push right now. This is great for you. Third, if you just want to scale super fast, it's going to be hard to scale cleanly. It's like bulking in the gym. It's quite hard to bulk, and it takes a lot of time to bulk, right? Which, let's just call it scale, to clean bulk. So if you want to scale fast, which basically is you want to dirty bulk, then you have to eat some fat. Well, in that case, you actually have to cut into your margin in the short term to recoup that in the long run, okay? So those are kind of the scenarios where you want to be unprofitable in the short term. The last one where you might want to be unprofitable in the short term is if you manage to negotiate amazing deals with your credit card processors. You might have a very good credit margin that you have. You might have some very good terms with your bank or whatnot, where you have very low interest or non-existing interest for, let's say, 6 months, allowing you to pay back on your own terms a margin that you would have borrowed the banks. Well, in that case, that again could be good. Or as an example, negotiating like ad platform based net 30 terms with Facebook or whatnot, those help you increase the cycle or the rapidity at which you have to make money or give that money back essentially to the ad platforms or the bank, which is good. The longer you can have as a window, the more you can afford to lose money in the short term, okay? And that is like, I'm talking purely about the e-commerce space, but that same theory applies to anything like real estate investors, right? That's where real estate investors, that's how they make a lot of money. They're usually going to borrow money they don't have from the bank. They're going to have very good deals where they probably have like 0% interest for quite some time, or very low interest, which they're going to expect their deal to start making money back essentially within 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. And if you compare their deal terms versus the profits or whatnot that are going to come in from their investment, they should be able to make money back at a certain point in the future. This is how a lot of the real estate investors work. You can do the same thing with Ecom. But the point of this video is to talk about first order profitability. Why? Because what I just said applies to a very small percentage of brands. It's not every brand that can afford to be unprofitable in the short term. A lot of brands function on very thin margins, which that doesn't really give you a lot of wiggle room in order to be unprofitable in the first order. A lot of people have bad LTV, which if they don't make money today, like as an example, drop shippers, right? If they don't make money today, they're not going to make money tomorrow. So they got to make money today to eat. Third, a lot of people that are bootstrapped and just starting have very low cash reserves. They can't afford to be unprofitable. They have to pay inventory, and they might not have the best deals with their suppliers yet because they don't push out as much volume with inventory. Therefore, they're stuck having to make money today, right? So every brand owner that is below a certain point, usually brands below 50 grand a month, they're stuck in a cash to conversion cycle that is like super short. And I want to give you an example of what a debt cycle could look like, right? So let's actually go to a drawing board right here, and let's take the example right here of me having all of these numbers, okay? And you know what? I might even make up some new numbers. So here we go. Let's just say that today, instead of getting 1.24 ROAS, I'm actually getting 1.05, okay? So that's my ROAS today. I'm getting 1.05 new customer ROAS, whereas my target, as you can see, was 1.25, okay? So in that case, how much lower is that, okay? So let's do some math. So percentage increase calculator, this is a good website I like to use for these calculations. So 1.24 is my starting value. And now I'm at 1.05 actually. So that I'm like 15% lower, okay? So this is 15% lower than my target, okay? So I'm 15% below target as of right now, which means I incur about 15% of debt based on the amount of sales volume I'm pushing. So let's just use a low scale example right here to show it, and also a high scale example to show that. So let's just say I'm pushing here a product that's so let's go back, it's about 23 bucks, okay? So I'm pushing a unit price here, a product of 23 bucks. So my product price is $23, okay? So per like product, okay? So or let's just call it per product unit. Now I sell roughly 100 units, okay? So I sell about 100 units of those in that example. Well, that equates in sales to about $2,300 in sales that I made. Now going back right here, I know that my margins are at roughly 80.78% of whatever to make that happen, right? So in this case, let's just go back right here, and we have 2,300 bucks. So 2,300 times, let's let's go back right there, 80.78, right? So if I do the math right here, that means that technically my costs or my actually, so going back right here, my gross margin, sorry about that, is roughly this amount, okay? So if I go back, I'm just gonna write that right here, $1,857 is basically like my gross margin that I would have right here to make this back. So now essentially, if I figure out what are my cost of goods from that, I would have to subtract these two, right? This is my margin. This is essentially how much I made. So therefore, how much it cost me to get essentially $2,300 in sales is, let's just do the quick math right here. So 2,300 minus, let's go back right there, 1857. It basically cost me about $443, okay, to make this amount internally, okay? So those are my cost of goods for this amount. Okay, so now I have this in cost of goods to think about because I've just made $2,300. Now, with my ROAS that I have right here, what was my ad spend to get $2,300 in sales? Well, I go $2,300 divided by 1.05. So it cost me roughly $2,190 to get this back, okay? To make that money. So if I go 2,300 minus 2,190 minus 443, here's what happens, right? 2,300 minus 2,190 minus the amount that we had right here, which was 443, which are my cost of goods at this point. I'm negative $300, okay? I'm negative $300 right now. Now you might say, well, Justin, I already know that. It's basic math. Sure, but that's only with 100 sales of volume. If I do 1,000 sales, then I magnify that. And this is, let's say for the month, right? Let's just say for the sake of this video, I've got 100 sales for this month. I've made about 3 sales a day. Okay, good. So this month I've lost $300. Now, a lot of agencies, what ends up happening is on month 2, right? On month 2, now they finally get a positive ROAS. So let's just take that into account right here, okay? On month 2, let's just say they get, instead of this, let's do the same exercise again. Month 2, they get 1 point, and going back to the break even, it was 1.24. They get 1.3, okay? Let's just say like they get 1.3 new customer ROAS. Now they tell the client like, yay client, we're finally profitable, we're doing great, like this is amazing, let's do a testimonial, let's do a video together, this is a great. Client is like, yes, I'm super happy, let's do it, and everybody's happy. But they're forgetting that they were in the negative the month prior. Now let's do the same math right here. Okay, we are above target for this month. And again, I'm not even factoring in agency fees at this point, which would be a whole separate calculation to add on top of that. But here we're in the hole for $300 on month 1. Month 2, we got roughly, let's just say about 1.3, new customer ROAS, and it's the same thing, right? About 100 sales, 1.3 new customer ROAS. Great. So what I go back right here is I go essentially to my 2,300 divided by 1.3, which is about 1,700 right here. So this minus my ad spend, minus my cost of goods. Wow, I've made $88 of profit this month. Yay, I am profitable, right? I made $88 this month. Did you? You still have to think about the debt that you've incurred last month. Last month, you got $300 in debt. If you got $300 in debt last month, you probably have interest on this debt, right? Most people have a credit card that has interest or a margin that has some form of interest. Let's just take an average interest rate of about 10%. $330 plus 10%. Now you had 360, right? And now you just made $88 back. So this amount minus $88, now you're still $278 in the hole at this point. You're not profitable. You're still in the hole. Like this month, you might have been profitable, but you had much more debt last month, which puts you in the hole still for this month. So you get where I'm going with this. If you have very poor LTV and you're not focusing on first order profitability, this is a highway to bankruptcy at some point. You will end up shooting yourself in the foot for sure. Like at some point, this number is just going to keep on growing so much. Keep in mind, interest also compound on that, right? So you get 10% this month, 10% next month, and whatever. It just keeps on growing. At some point, it just gets like a humongous ball of debt, which is what you got to calculate even if you're going for this route, right? Because let's just say you're going for CAC to LTV ratio, where you can't now just factor in these. You also need to add to this equation your interest rate, because all of this is money you borrowed from somewhere. If you're funded, then that's great. You probably don't even have interest. If you got some form of loan at 0% interest, then that's great. You are one of the few lucky ones that you don't even have to worry about this variable. What I'm trying to say right here is that most of you that want to scale a brand at some point will have to shift from a first order profitability to essentially like a CAC to LTV ratio for true scale. When you do that, one, factor in interest. Two, make sure you have a very strong LTV. That's the biggest thing. Make sure you focus on LTV. You need to have a solid email team. You need to have a solid SMS team. You need to make sure that your CRO is on point. You need to nail all of this down, right? Your customer loyalty program, rewards, and etc. if you want to go that route. Or else you will shoot yourself in the foot like you've seen right here and just create a snowball effect of a vicious debt cycle, which you don't want that. Now, I actually speak a little bit further about the unit economics tool and how you can use it and give you that templates in the description down below. In our free school community, we have like a free mini course in there about e-commerce economics, e-commerce paid advertising, and the creative editing and production side of things. So check this out down below. And if you're an e-commerce brand watching this video making at least $50,000 a month with your brand, then also check out the description down below and book in a short demo call to speak with our team so that we can help run your paid advertising campaigns as well as produce your ad creatives. On that note, I'm going to wish you an amazing day and talk to you soon. Bye.